I'd like to start off the adoption of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? Hearing none?
There was an addition that's not on the printed copy, but it was sent out to council, or to Terry Thibodeau.
Yes.
In discussion with the letter, yeah.
It was 8.4, I guess.
5.3 of the delegation.
Would someone like to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. I'd like us to pause to seek guidance, please. Okay. We're going to have the reading of the mission statement. To provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community's needs while preserving, supporting, and enhancing quality of life for all. First presentation, Gloria Bank from Grant Thornton, 2013-14 audit presentation. Would someone like to move for her to come forward? That's okay, you can stay there. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
No.
No?
Move it down closer. That's better.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So I put on each of your desks a copy of the finalized audited financial statement. So I'm going to go right directly to page 1, which is the independent auditor's report. And it's just laid out in terms of the format, in terms of what is it. It's the audited financial statements for March 31st, 2014 for the Municipality of the District of Digby. And then it goes through management's responsibility, because it really is management's responsibility to prepare the financial information contained within here in accordance with the Canadian Public Sector Accounting Principles. As auditors, it's our responsibility to be able to make an opinion on these financial statements. We have to plan and properly implement an audit. We use our judgment when we look at the balances and the transactions. We have to focus our attention on those areas where there are a higher risk of misstatement or error occurring in the financial statements. And we do have a look at your internal controls. We're not required to give an opinion on your internal controls, but we're required to be able to understand them so that we know how the balances were accumulated throughout the year, that we're able to give our opinion on the ending balances. We also look at the appropriateness of your internal accounting policies that have been chosen and implemented as well during the year. And so then if we flip to the top of page 2, this is our opinion. And it is our opinion that the consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Municipality of the District of Digby as at March 31st, 2014, and the results of its operations, changes in net assets, and its changes in financial position for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian Public Sector Accounting Principles. So this is what we consider to be a clean audit opinion. There was nothing that we found that caused us to have concerns where we couldn't issue an opinion. And the very last paragraph just refers to the pages at the back that are additional information that are provided for internal use for management, as opposed to being required by the public sector accounting standards, but we do include it for management's purposes. So that is our audit opinion. Page 3, this is management's page, so it's responsibility where management declares that they have properly implemented the controls that they have in place, and that will be signed by management as well. So then we'll go on to page 4, which is the consolidated statement of operations. It's the revenues and expenditures for the year compared to the budget and compared to the prior year's actuals. And if we look at revenue in total, you'll see that the actual budget was $7,840,000. And the actual came in at $6,612,000 compared to last year's $6,574,000. And the one item that changes the budget from actual every year will be the capital grants and contributions, because it depends on what was planned to be implemented versus what actually happened. And you did have some projects that were planned that didn't actually get completed in this year, but will be completed at a later date. So you'll see that there is actually a big difference between the capital grants and contributions and the actual. If we backed out those capital grants, you actually would have generated more revenue than you had budgeted for, and the main area that derives that is the transfer tax. It's a very hard item to plan for, to know exactly what will happen in a year, because it just depends on people beyond your control and what they decide to do. And so in both 13 and 14, there was a significant amount of activity by the Irving group, so therefore the transfer tax was higher than what you had actually budgeted for. Budgeting on the revenue side always tends to be conservative. You don't want to over budget and then not come in at that amount, so it's a little bit less than actual results. But in comparison to the prior year, the actual results are fairly close to the prior year. There are some that are up and some that are down. But basically, there was a small increase in the assessment when it came to the property taxes, but the other sources of revenue remained relatively constant. On the expenditure side, you'll see the budget was $6,329,000, came in at $6,047,000, and last year's actual was $6,087,000. So while your revenues have grown, your expenditures have actually decreased from the prior year, which results in a higher, what we call annual surplus, would also be equivalent to net income in a business situation. So you'll see that grew over the prior year. And some of the things that changed, if we look at specifically the general government services, that's one area where you'll see quite a significant difference from the prior year, and the expenses are down. So one of the things that happens is that you have a general allowance against your taxes receivable. Whether or not they'll be collectible in the future or not is always a question. It's an area of estimation. And there was an old balance that had been outstanding for a number of years that actually was finally written off because it was determined to be not collectible. And so once that balance was gone, the requirement for the allowance was actually less than what you'd had. You'd over-provided. So it actually reduced your expenses in that area. The rest of the items are actually fairly consistent from year to year and not significantly different than the budget items. There are some that are higher budgeted, specifically if you look at protective services. You had budgeted a higher amount for the RCMP contract. It actually came in lower than what you had expected, so that was a good thing. So in total, the annual surplus for the year is $564,621 as compared to last year's $487,328. The accumulated surplus at the beginning of this year was $13,399,325, so it gives you a total accumulated surplus at the end of the day of $13,963,946. So it was a very, very good year. Okay, so those are the revenues and expenses. On page 5, these are the assets and the liabilities. So you'll see at the top, it's broken down between financial assets, liabilities, and then non-financial assets at the bottom. And this is specifically laid out in this way so that you can look at what they consider to be financial assets are readily convertible to cash and can be used to pay off the bills. Whereas non-financial assets are those things that are held for the long term to generate revenue into the future, but are not normally held for sale to pay off any liabilities that are associated. So that's why they're clearly segregated. And in the top half, you'll see that the first 3 items are cash and cash-related accounts, and they have grown over the prior year. And you'll see the next item is the receivables, and you'll see that it actually went down quite significantly from the prior year. Also outstanding at the end of the year last year were some capital grants for projects that you had underway that hadn't been collected as of yet, so that's part of the reason that number came down. So you have a total current, what we call financial assets, $5,492,000 versus last year's $4,305,000. So your total financial assets have grown over the prior year. On the liability side, you'll see that the payables and accruals look to be a bit higher than the prior year, and again, that comes to timing. So at the end of March 31st, 2014, the fourth quarter RCMP bill was still in accounts payable. The cash had not gone out the door yet for it. That's one of the reasons the cash balance is a little bit higher this year as well. And then you have a significant amount of what we call deferred revenue, and that's $612,000, and that's really your gas tax money. So when it comes in, if you haven't spent it, it stays in what we call deferred revenue until which time you've spent it on a project, and then it'll be revenue of a future period. And then you'll see also the new long-term debt, and that was the borrowing for the Bear River Sewer. So your total liabilities are $2,640,000. So we have net financial assets, which means you have more financial assets than you have liabilities, of $2,852,136. It's down a little bit from the prior year, and that has to do with some of the borrowing that took place during the year. Still a very strong position to be in, to have a net financial asset position. And then you have your non-financial assets, which are your tangible capital assets, and so that's what you've invested in, your buildings, your sewers, and all those items. Net book value, so that means it's been depreciated, recognizing that assets decline in value over their useful lives. So the total tangible capital assets are $11,091,000. There was a small amount of prepaid expenses of $20,000. So your total non-financial assets are $11,111,810. And then you have your accumulated surplus at the end of the day of $13,963,946, which agrees to the page before the tune-less balance. So those are the two most important pages of the financial statements. I'll just quickly look at page 6. So we talked on the balance sheet about the net financial position being $2,852,000, which is, like I said, a very strong position to be in. It has decreased during the year because you'll see the main item being the acquisition of tangible capital assets. So as you spend money on capital, if it's not 100% funded, then it will draw down this net financial asset position. And in your case, you borrowed for it, so as the borrowing gets paid off, your net financial asset position will grow once again. So that's what that page depicts. And then page 7 is the continuity of the cash balances for the year. And again, it's just a continuity. It shows how the cash went up and how it was drawn down. So you'd see from the general operations, you actually generated $1.3 million in cash and then spent $1.5 million on capital. And then the issuance of the debt was $1.1. So at the end of the day, you did generate $900,000 in additional cash for the year. Okay. Pages 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 are all supporting schedules. They are the detailed breakdown of each of the revenues and expenses that we looked at on page, the Statement of Operations page. So I talked about what the changes were, so I won't go over these. Already discussed them in detail with the Audit Committee. And then the remaining pages are the accounting policy choices as well as supporting notes for the items that are on the balance sheet. And then the last few pages, again, are supporting numbers. I just point to the very last page because you have had no new accounting policies during the year. There weren't any changes in accounting standards. So there's no new notes. They would be very similar to the prior year, and they are supplementary information to support the financial statements. If we look just quickly at page 25, just because this isn't clear on the balance sheet, because everything is grouped together in accumulated surplus now, but this is the amount that has been generated over time that's been set aside in what we call reserve funds. So these are amounts that have been put aside for specific purposes, and you'll see it gives you a detailed breakdown of each one of those categories of how much money has been set aside. Some is set aside each year, some just carries forward from year to year, and as well, some is being drawn on. So you'll see each one of those categories. And at the end of the day, the reserves have a balance of $1,242,813. So that's what's been accumulated in your reserves. So that's an overview of your financial statements in the position at March 31st, 2014. If you have any questions.
Any questions on that? Jimmy?
On the last page, it says gas election. What do you refer to that? What do you mean by that?
You found a typo. There used to be a category called election because you had an election last year and there was money set aside for it. So it obviously got, the gas is not supposed to be on top of it.
There's $500,000 in that account.
It's gone now. So that was the gas tax money. It was the gas tax money. So it should have said gas tax instead of gas election. So we'll have to fix that. But the money was taken out of here and put into the deferred revenue on the balance sheet that we saw.
Check though, because I think there's still money left in the election reserve.
Is there still some left? Okay, I'll double check them.
So it's like the
Yep.
used it all.
Yep. I'll go check that.
Is there any other questions? I want to say, as being in the audit committee, you were very thorough the other day when we discussed this, we bring it forward to council. Was there anything you truly needed to highlight, though, for anyone that wasn't, I mean, we were all there at the audit committee, but is there anything, I'm sitting here knowing,
Yep.
and I know you did it very quick,
Yep.
as well you should,
Yep.
but is there anything that the public needs to hear extra from this?
Well, I think the one thing that we don't have here tonight is the report to the audit committee, which goes directly to those charged with governance, which would have entailed any recommendations we had about internal controls. But in general, we find that the controls are good here. They're strong controls and management. If you look at your comparison of your budget to actual, your plans are generally implemented the way that you set them at the beginning of the year. The things that are beyond your control are beyond your control, and that's project related or what the general public does. But when it comes to setting your expenditures, you do a great job setting your budget and sticking to it as well. So, like I said, you're in a very healthy position, strong position for a municipality of your size, and well managed. So,
Thank you. You have great staff.
yeah, you do.
We listen and they listen. We listen more.
Okay.
So if there is nothing else, at this time, would someone like to accept the consolidated financial statements for March 31st, 2014? Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Gloria, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You've done an excellent job as usual.
Thank you very much.
The next is Aaron Camo, Western Counties Regional Library, Library Services. Could I have someone move for Aaron to come forward?
So moved.
Is there a seconder? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you hear me fine? Does this thing move? Okay. All right. So this presentation is a bit different than the other ones that I have because this municipality has 3 library branches. So I'm not going to go into great detail about numbers for any other branches, but along the way, if any of you have any questions specific to your area, just let me know. Okay? All right. So as the warden said, I'm here to present on library services and programs, and I believe that you've all received a handout. So if you have questions along the way as well, you can either ask during the presentation or afterwards. So before I go into details about the libraries in this region, I just wanted to give you an overview of regional libraries in the province. Public libraries were founded through the Antigonish movement in order to support rural development. And by 1981, all municipalities in the province had joined the library system. So today we have 9 regions and 78 libraries throughout Nova Scotia, and our region includes 10 of those branches. All regions are governed by individual boards, of which municipal and town council members form that board. So for Digby Municipality, it's Jimmy that's representing on that board. Libraries receive funding from 3 main sources. We receive 71% from the province. Municipalities and towns provide 26%, and then each library board is required to fundraise the other 3%. So every year we rely on general donations from the public, we rely from corporate donations, business donations, and the like. And also every 2 years, Western Counties has a major fundraising campaign, the Adopt a Library campaign, which brings in about $35,000, so it's every 2 years. And our region also receives the French Acadian grant to serve the Clare and Argyll regions. And a bit of that trickles over into Weymouth because a lot of the people from this side of Clare tend to go to the Weymouth branch. So So the funding received is used to purchase the new books to upgrade computers, especially now that we don't have the CAP program. Sustainability money, we're using some of that money to just refurbish the public computers. Also, it's used for local programming and also to deliver books. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but we have 2 library vans. They all have big logos. We travel a lot. Postage would be way too expensive to send all our books to our 10 branches. So a lot of the budget goes towards that. We also use the money to pay for the staff, rent of our headquarters, and any other operating expenses. So a bit about the libraries in Westport, Weymouth, and Digby. So this is where I go into great detail about the numbers. Westport's open 15 hours a week. Weymouth is 24. Weymouth had a slight increase in numbers when we opened the new branch. Digby's open 30.5 hours a week. And so all 3 together employ 6 people on a part-time basis. Some of them are closer to full-time, but it's not quite that, so we just include them all in the part-time. For the Municipality of Digby, there's over 3,800 active library members. And with our provincially shared lending system, so through interlibrary loan and Borrow Anywhere, Return Anywhere program, we're able to offer a selection of 2 million books and other items to patrons in our region. And that would include books, DVDs, kits, learning materials, etc. So in 2013-14, which is our most recent data, people in the Municipality of Digby borrowed over 51,000 books and other materials in the library, so that's just within the 1 year. And while lending books is a major activity, we all know that there's other things going on at the library. So there's a variety of programs to meet the community needs, depending on the community. Some are more focused on art, some are more focused on seniors programming. But to give you a general sense of what's going on in each of the branches, we all have story times and babies for toddlers, after-school activities and crafts, summer reading club for all ages, so that's for children up to adults, basic internet and computer training. That's when we're able to get CAP students in during the summer months or the winter months. Then they're available usually for 3 months at a time to either give one-on-one help to anybody coming in with tablets or smartphones or computers, and also to provide training sessions on specific topics. The current topics that are the most popular are Facebook use and internet. And it's mostly amongst the seniors who are getting these tablets for either their birthdays or Christmas. And also they want to keep in touch with their family, most of them being away. It's just the general condition of this area is that they're away out west. So they're coming in to know how to hook up Skype, how to use Facebook, how to use all that social media where they can look at pictures and communicate with their loved ones. We also have author readings quite often, writing programs, art talks and exhibits, and in 2 of the branches, Weymouth and Digby, every year we have an income tax assistance program where there are volunteers that come in and they assist people of low income to do their taxes. Last year, a little over 5,200 people attended the 382 programs that were offered in the 3 branches. And just to give you a heads up on what's going on in the coming weeks, in Weymouth there'll be storytelling nights, there'll be a book talk. There's also some visiting artists that I think they're based out of New Edinburgh, but every visiting artist from Maine, I believe, they have a partnership with the library where part of that partnership is that they go in and they give a talk to community members on what it is that they're working on. So we've had a few come in, and there's another one coming in the fall. Also, there's the seasonal programs like pumpkin carvings and things like that. So in Digby, we have an interactive study group, and that seems to be going on quite well. Games night, again, seasonal crafts, and in Westport, again, crafts. But that's just for the fall.
What is the interactive study group?
It's a program that they're using, and it's, I think it's a program that's been established already, but it's just the children come in and they interact and study.
Okay.
Yep. That's been going on, school year just started, so it's just starting up, but I believe it was on a bit last year as well, so they've had some good turnout. And one thing that I wanted to mention is that every branch is set up differently, but I kind of inquired a bit about this after I was speaking to Linda, actually, and she had mentioned how the Weymouth branch, the program room, is used a lot. And so I just inquired to see what sorts of groups were using the program room, both in Weymouth and in Digby. And it's amazing the variety. There's support groups use both the program rooms. There's art clubs, book clubs. They use the program rooms for birthday parties, baby showers, business meetings, trainings. It's just a wide variety of people using those rooms. And those aren't programs that are included within our stats because they're not library programs, but it just goes to show that the facility is being used by the community. So we're fortunate enough to have those program rooms in both those branches where we can offer that service. So as we all know, literacy gives people the ability to understand and use the printed information. And literacy is one of the main reasons why libraries are around, is to support literacy and literacy programs. So what we've done over the years is we have programs within the library, but we also work with partners outside of the library to be able to reach out to more people in order to promote and support literacy. And one of those programs that we have is the Read to Me program, which is a program where the library staff deliver gift bags to new parents. So that's done through the hospital. Any new parent that comes in and gives birth to a child, or to their second child, every child gets a Read to Me bag, and in that bag they have some free books and their little explanations on the importance of reading to your children, and just a general encouragement to take them to the library. We also have a program called the WOW Reading Challenge, which is in partnership with the local RCMP in the schools. And that's a program that we have during the school years. We've been doing this for 7 years, where we go into the schools, encourage the kids to read, and we also work with the RCMP to buy books in bulk. We do fundraising, and then we get the books in bulk for a reduced price. And we use those books to go into the schools and make sure that every child has at least one book to take home with them that they get to keep. Again, it's to try to support them in reading. So in the last 7 years, we've actually given over 11,000 books to kids in the Tri-Counties. And it's an initiative that was started by an RCMP officer who saw the importance of literacy, where literacy is tied to crime, and trying to up literacy rates so that we could lower crime. And it's still popular today. So also, like I mentioned, at various times throughout the year, we have the CAP program, the provincially funded CAP program, where we get some summer students and winter students in so that they can keep up with the training with the internet. Because that's still one of the most, since the CAP program started more than 10 years ago, it's sort of, a lot of people have associated CAP with libraries, and a lot of people will directly come to the library if they need some help. I'm sure that David could speak to that. And it's ongoing. You would think that now with people having their own Wi-Fi or having their mobile devices that they wouldn't need that help. But now we're finding the trend is that not only do they want help on switching from computers to tablets, we're finding that more and more people are coming in and needing help on filling out government forms, especially unemployment forms, any forms for any sort of government service. We've actually been told by a few of the patrons that when they called the government, that the person on the other line, their response was, "Go to your library." So anyway, it's interesting, the types of things that we get to help people with. And we're more than happy to do it, but it's just to show that there's still that need now that everything is available more online than in paper. So beyond that, the library extends beyond its physical walls. I'm sure you're all aware of the whole e-book phenomenon and how it's grown. Since 2010, we've seen our e-book circulation grow 150%. And by talking to people, there are some people that they prefer the device. Other people have noted how that's the only way that they can get to the library, because our hours don't coincide with hours that they'd be able to get to the library because of work or other commitments. So they're using that service to be able to access the library, which is quite good, actually. And another service that a lot of people are not aware of is the books by mail service. So for anyone who's unable to get to the library for either mobility issues or just they're way too far away, we offer a service where someone can either go online or call in their book order, and if they are one of those special needs patrons, then they can receive their books through the regular mail and return them that way, free of charge. So just to recap, because that's just a general overview of the services that we do provide. Well, we provide services for everyone in the community. What I'd like to mention is that we've seen a great shift in the needs of library users, and we sort of have two challenges. One is that we do have an aging demographic, and they tend to require more specialized service. So either they're having, mobility issues is one, but then there's the issues with sight or hearing, and they're wanting books in different formats, either large print or audio or in large text, that sort of thing. The other thing is that we're finding that, and I think that's like this with everyone, is that people want service faster than ever before. And so they like the e-books because they can get them instantly, but they also want to be able to go to the library, order a book, and get it then and there. So that's not a bad thing. It's just to say that it's an ongoing challenge. And but fortunately, we have dedicated staff, and most of them are long-term, and they're willing to help us with these challenges. And also, we're quite fortunate, and I would like to thank both the municipality and the employees here at the municipality, because it's always good to have municipalities support the library service, and we've never had any issues calling here if we needed any help or if we had questions. It's been great to work with. I know that when I worked on the Weymouth branch, it was an excellent experience. So since I was here, I thought I'd take the opportunity to thank you all for that as well. And with that, do you have any questions?
Jimmy?
I want to comment too about the fact that the readership hasn't decreased even though the population has declined quite a bit.
It hasn't decreased much. It's decreased slightly, but if you look at the population decline, it still shows we're second in the province for membership. We have a third of our population has a membership, and when you actually do the math, because we have such a out-migration, really the few percentages that the circulation has decreased is not really a factor. David?
I just like to say I've been here nothing but goodwill from up on the islands.
Good.
I was replaced by somebody who knew a lot more about computers, so apparently she's much more useful than I was. And I'd like to also recognize for the forums what the role that libraries play as an informal extension of social services. Ever think of asking the province for a little bit of training in regards to that, or maybe it wouldn't take much to make them a little bit more, because it's left entirely up to yourself on how to fill these forms out and what to do.
Yeah.
And it is an extremely important role, especially in rural areas.
Yeah. Well, we have the provincial CAP system. They're quite strong right now, and they've been in talks with rural and economic development to see if there's some sort of partnerships that can be formed there, because that is the case, especially in the smaller areas where there isn't an Access Nova Scotia or any other support system, so that we're trying to get some sort of base training so that we can offer that in the branches.
Yeah, you'd have people show up who couldn't read or write, and let alone use a computer, complicated forms to fill out, and there's always the clerk of the library who took responsibility and help.
Yeah.
It was very good. Also, I say very good quality of presentation.
Thank you.
Anyone else has any comments or questions?
I just want to say that Erin's doing a great job, executive director, and she's got a very competent staff, and I think the library service is top notch. And we went the other day with
thank you for coming and giving us an update on what's happening, and it's always good to keep, even though Jimmy's excellent at giving us what's going on, it's always good to hear from the executive director.
All right. And
Thank you.
anytime you need me to come back, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, Jimmy talks you guys up.
Okay, the next is our staff member, Terry Thibodeau. Will someone please allow? Is there a seconder?
Second minute.
All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded?
Nobody's contrary-minded.
What do you think about it?
So I was asked to come and comment on the Nova Scotia Tidal Energy Communities Alliance document, along with the possible letter going to Nova Scotia Power. I've reviewed the agreement, and I'm not sure if it speaks to the spirit of the meeting that was held earlier, and I think Councillor Jimmy and Linda, you were there. Linda, you were there. You weren't there. Anyway, we did have a presentation that was provided by Minus Energy regarding our support for extra capacity that they're seeking. And I think the intent at the time was that we would supply Minus Energy possibly with a letter of support. However, what they've provided us is pretty much what they've titled a cooperation agreement, Nova Scotia Tidal Energy Communities Alliance, which involves the town of Digby, the town of Parrsboro, town of Hantsport, municipality of County of Cumberland, municipality district of Digby, district of Clare, and the district of Argyle. And I think my own interpretation of this is that it starts to pigeonhole us into committing ourselves to one particular developer, and I'm not sure if really we align ourselves with one developer per se in support of their activities and in support of them getting extra capacity. I believe it's 10 megawatts that was being offered, that it may compromise our position with the other developers in so doing. And I'll just read a couple of the lines here that they've asked us to become a signatory to. The one line goes, the Alliance acknowledges that of the four force berth holders, Minus Energy, its partners, Blue Water Energy Services, and Marine Current Turbines, possess the most comprehensive understanding of Alliance members and their aspirations to secure meaningful involvement in tidal energy activities. Excuse me. The second one that I wanted to highlight was this next line, which states, in acknowledgement that meaningful benefits to coastal communities will only be achieved when a threshold scale is achieved by an individual berth holder, the Alliance members place their support behind Minus Energy bid to acquire a critical allotment of capacity as a result of the upcoming Nova Scotia Department of Energy's call for applications. I did speak to somebody today at the department, and their sense is that this was something that was not necessarily supported by Force, because Force is represented by four of the major berth holders. So you've got Open Hydro, BlackRock Energy, Minus Energy, and the fourth is Atlantis, which is compromised Lockheed Martin. So my sense is that indeed we were supportive of companies that want to develop further in the Minus passage. I'm not sure if there's direct benefits that would accrue to the municipality per se from Minus Energy. However, I think that our position should be one that we support all developers in their efforts to develop that energy. And so I'm not sure how council wants to approach this particular agreement, but those are my recommendations.
Question? Jimmy?
I read the agreement as well, and that's not what we talked about when we were up in Parrsboro at all. I feel that when we were in Parrsboro, well, first of all, when we went to Parrsboro, I thought that we were going to get together with Parsbro and Hansport and talk about how do we partner together or work together to support each other. And basically what took place was we had a presentation from Minus Energy, similar to the presentation that they had already given us here, lobbying for our support for them to get the full allotment of energy that's being provided in the COMPIT. And when I read this agreement, it's definitely not something that I feel comfortable with, because it's almost entering into a legal agreement where you're going to work together financially down the road. You might be committed to implications there. But I feel that we want to support all parties that want to try to promote title industry in the Bay of Fundy, regardless of who they are. To read the way this is worded, it's almost saying that this company is further by Yelps, and we can't say that. We don't know that for sure. Just at Port Days last week, we had Open Hydro there, and they laid out their whole plan on what they're going to do in the next few years. And to say that they're not providing leadership in going forward with title, that's not true. And like when Open Hydro laid out their plan, like it said in 2017, they plan on putting another 12 megawatts on stream. Where are they going to get the capacity to do that if everything's tied up with one berth holder? I don't know. But I also think that the government hasn't allowed enough megawatts of energy. They haven't allotted enough to make it viable for the 4 berth holders to actually do something to see whether it's going to be possible to have a larger operation. Like, in order to do an array, you need to put in more than one turbine. And each turbine's 2 megawatts. And even in fairness to Minus Energy, what they're asking for is so that they can put in the array that they want to move forward with commercially. So they do need that amount of energy. But for us to go out and just state that we're just going to support them on their initiative and entire that one company and forget about the other 3 berth holders, I don't think that's the direction that I think we want to go in. But I think we need to write a letter of support for Minus Energy on their endeavor on trying to acquire the megawatts that they're looking for. But I don't think we need to word it in a way that means that we're tying our hands just to that one operation. So.
And on October 3rd, aren't they doing, is there another meeting?
There could be. They planned a conference call to go over this agreement. I did speak this morning with Pam Doucette and Claire, and she's saying that they're unsure of. They're in the same position. They think that they're tying themselves to one company and maybe not being as open as they could be with the other developers. I tend to agree with Councillor McAlpine in that if we did write a letter, we could make it generic enough that we support all of the berth holders in their efforts to produce or to gather the information that they need. So I wouldn't want to see it just limited to Minus Energy either, even though they're the only ones that really have made a pitch to us in that regard.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Just in regards to the document, they characterize Parsbro and Hansport as a service center and Digby as aspirations for a regional hub. I don't know if that's the wording on that is something I'm entirely comfortable with either. Yeah, used to exclude, and it's difficult to say what's a regional hub per se. And I thought that we'd had hopes as the deep water port for servicing. So I'm not even entirely sure even if that little portion of this would completely follow our interests. And also I agree with what Jimmy was saying. He was right in my opinion.
Anybody else?
I agree with Jimmy that we shouldn't tie ourselves into one company and be willing to support anybody who wants to do
If we should be all lobbying together, if anything, it should be increased capacity so that this and others are there rather than
Good
this
point.
excluding the others. If we're going to be all getting together to push something, that's I'd rather see increased capacity as a whole that all these businesses can operate within rather than one business getting it all.
Yeah.
Marissa?
So have the other municipalities that are named there, have they signed up? Is it clear?
My understanding is nobody's signed yet.
They all probably have the same.
They probably have the same concerns. So I suspect that it may not fly, you're right.
Jimmy?
When we went to Parisville, I thought we were going to get together with Transport and Parisville to see how we could work together as a region on the development of tidal energy. And really, none of the discussions evolved around that. It was more around what energy was trying to do. Like, I think each community has the opportunity to benefit in some way. The tidal is going to grow. I believe that we've got the best opportunity here when it comes to support. With deep water, it's free. Transport's got an opportunity to minus energy because the technology that Minus Energy wants to use is going to be compatible to going into Hansport to be serviced. And that's where that company's based from. And that's great because I think it's good that Hansport has an opportunity as well to benefit from this. In Parisboro, right now, some of the ships that are actually laying down the cable, they're actually working out of Parisboro, but on a long-term scale, and to do anything for a service sector, especially for the larger open hydro units that they want to put in the water, those would have to be done in either Digby or St. John. So I think it was key, and what was crucial coming out of that meeting is that we wanted to work together to keep this a Nova Scotia-driven project and try to, for the most part, in Nova Scotia. And that's where I thought why we were going to get together with Hansport and Parisburg, have a united voice going to the province in that regard. So actually, that's what was driving the whole meeting. So, once again, I want to say that I support what Minus Energy is trying to do, and I think it's great that they're trying to be progressive and aggressive also to get out there and try to acquire these other megawatts of energy that's available. But also, on the same token, we can't just tie our hands to one company. There's 4 berth holders. 2 of those have changed over since the original announcement, and it's not to say that others won't also before this takes off. This is a growing industry that's just in its very early stages, and but on the same token, I think if we're going to do anything also, we could also, on behalf of these companies, lobby the province to try to put more megawatts of energy in the ComFed so that it makes it attractive for them to develop this better.
That's a good point. If it please Council, Madam Warden, I could draft a letter on behalf of Council and with the CAO's permission and guidance, obviously, to prepare something that could go forth
I would think so.
with your approval.
You agree, Linda?
You need a motion for
Yes. I don't think it's a direction that we're going through.
The second piece I just wanted to talk to was a letter that we would prepare for Nova Scotia Power, and based on Councillor Tudor's conversations with the President Bob Hanf, I think a letter going to Nova Scotia Power would include some of the opportunities that we see that exist, but I think what we need to do is phrase the letter in such a format that it highlights some of the activities that we've done and the groundwork that we've done to date. And I reference at this point a just recently completed study by Dalhousie University on the electric vehicle opportunities that present themselves. So these are some of the items that I think if we do prepare a letter going to Nova Scotia Power, that we indicate that we've done a lot of legwork and we're seeking them as a partner in some of the projects that we'll be working on upcoming, and that we phrase the letter in such a way that it asks them to become full-fledged partners with us as we go forward in some of these activities. So with your permission, I can prepare something that council can also send off to Bob Hamp based on Councillor Tudor's conversation.
Okay, how do people feel?
I feel excellent. Terry's definitely the one to do it. You know, the specifics. It was the conversation. Just again, was along the lines of us being a good place to start this month.
Exactly. Yeah. And just a footnote to that, Councillor Tudor, I was part of a working committee, provincial working committee, that included Nova Scotia Power and Department of Energy on smart grid. And so in the letter would we reference the fact that we were part of that working committee, and some of our recommendations that were put forth included Digby as a pilot project for smart grid, where we have a sort of a perfect storm of opportunity, low grid capacity, renewable energy coming on stream. But I also think it's incumbent upon us too, and I think I've been talking with Linda a bit about it, is to be able to say we've got a lot of things that are on the go regarding, electric vehicles, for instance, and we want to promote electric thermal storage units to get people off of oil and more onto electricity. But it has to become part of a comprehensive strategy that looks at the whole piece and how we promote people going off oil, for instance, and taking up more electric vehicles, or even converting to electric thermal storage. And I talked to some about this PACE program, which is called the Property Assessment Clean Energy, which is a way to finance these programs through your property taxes. It's done similar to the Solar City project in HRM, and it's been cleared through the MGA. And so, it's something that maybe we could look at as a way to help promote the conversion of more households converting to electric thermal storage as a way to use more electricity in Digby County, knowing that our electricity is coming from renewable energy. So,
in regards to the PACE program, the financing is not on the individual, the property holder; it's on the property itself. So the property taxes there's taxes added to it, or financing fees are added to the taxes. So if it is sold after 2 years, it doesn't follow the person. It stays with the property that has been upgraded for the grade.
precisely.
Very interesting. Also, since we have Terry here, I would like to talk about the possibility of us having a lineal plan, or as you were calling it, a comprehensive strategy in regards to this. There's numerous opportunities. We haven't sort of jumping at a lot of them. It might be interesting to consider an overall conversation with all of us. I know different committees have their fingers in various different projects, but I think that there would be a benefit if we all sat down sometime and discussed something like this, an actual plan. I know we have numerous little plans, but maybe something large.
Jimmy?
In regard to the DDA, the Digby Development Agency, we've been working on a lot of these plans with Terry and others, and that's actually one of the things that we're going to be focusing on right soon, is having probably a half-day session amongst ourselves to try to on what the
You mean just the DDA itself?
I see the council have, maybe discussions, if it's at a bylaw and policy meeting, or take some time sometime just to see us going in the next 5 to 10 years, because there's so many opportunities, but we've got limited resources, and technology's changing every freaking day, and we want to grab onto it all, but we can't. We can't grab it all, so we've got to look at what's going to be the best benefit to the residents.
I just wonder if, I know the DDA is taking a leadership role in this, but I myself would be curious to see all these little pieces put together with council itself, to maybe have a half-day session or something like that, especially considering the share of our budget that goes into this. It's very significant. And we have a lot of apples in the cart, and I would like to go over it in a very comprehensive and itemized way. thought I'd throw that out. Maybe we can discuss it at the next bylaw policy meeting. Or if that was okay with people, we want to take that on the agenda
We can put it on the agenda to discuss,
to discuss.
but just as long as you know the DDA is going to be doing the comprehensive study.
But I'd like to take a good look at what it is as a council as a whole and the different little pieces that we do have with the various, like the DDA and the other committees.
Jimmy?
I don't disagree, but one of the things that you could do if you wanted to in the interim is put your thoughts down and send myself and the warden an email. So if you've got some ideas that you want us to bring forward to the DDA, then we can bring them forward at that time too, so that we're.
I'd be curious to see where the DDA is in detail now and what they're thinking, and then maybe give suggestions as opposed to giving suggestions absent of that information.
The DDA right now has been really, I think it's fair to say that we've been focusing very heavily on the promotion of the Digby Harbor for a title service center, and then there's also the piece with the on trying to put infrastructure in place for the development of and research and development of title. So those are the two major components. So really, we as a group, as the DDA, we have to sit down and really, okay, we got to step back a bit and where do we go from here? And because really, I think, there's only, like I said earlier, there's only so many resources out there. The next step for our area, if we're going to really jump on the bandwagon with the development of title, is to have a repair terminal. Well, we're talking probably $30 million to have something like that built. And so I think you can't go after that and then go after this and this and this. So you've got to really focus and put, prioritize what you want to do.
Well, we're discussing that as a sort of conversation that I would like to have maybe a little more often. Exactly what you're saying is the sort of stuff I want to hear and think about. I don't know enough to just jot down a bunch of ideas.
And I think we'll have to do it probably at the next, I think
Well, it doesn't have to be the next one, but...
Yeah, we have a full agenda right coming up, hopefully.
For the October 6th?
Yeah.
I haven't looked that up. Yet.
Okay.
I also, in regards to...
Brief conversation on how we want to organize it.
Yeah, I was hoping, though, maybe we have Terry there, because he's got a real good idea, a good handle on a lot of this stuff. Maybe he could facilitate it as a brief overview. I'm not thinking something really brief. I'm thinking of something maybe a little more involved.
Well, I think to do something like this, it shouldn't be part of the bylaw and policy. It
Have
should
to
be a
be a
meeting
separate
dedicated especially for this,
Separate meeting.
just like an afternoon.
Okay, so we discuss it.
But I think that's on the agenda for the 6th is what we would discuss.
Okay.
What
Decide
a
what we
session
wanna
like
do.
that
Okay.
would look like.
All right, I'll be prepared October 6th.
Bylaw and policy.
Yep. Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much, everybody.
I just wanted to ask about the NDA that we were going to sign to.
That's on the agenda.
Okay, and what's the other one?
If you wish, maybe you could move it up.
I mean, that's I don't need to be here, but I just wanted to make sure that. So it's just that, I mean, they're sharing information now. Yeah, they're sharing information with the consultant now. It's just that we're not privy to some of that information because we haven't signed on to it. And the other one was another, the NDA and, I forget now, it's on the top of my tongue here. Anyway, sorry.
No, I don't think there's any.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for...
Anyone else have any
Yeah.
other questions?
Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you for having me, and all the best, and have a great meeting. Have a great rest of the meeting tonight. I know you will. Get out of here.
Thank you very much.
Take your bows and go.
That's usually me getting that.
Take your bows.
I have to use the washroom, excuse me.
Certainly. Okay. The next is the minutes
of July 28th. Is there any errors or omissions? Is there a seconder? All in agreement? Contrary minded? Motion carries. Okay. The next is there any business arising or old business? Marissa? No. Jimmy? Hearing none, then we will go on to new business. HMCS Acadia funding request for 2015.
I'll move this to our budget process in 2015.
So I'm just going to ask.
Submitted this now
It's
because,
early, yeah, it's early.
well, the reason why is
Because they
because a
have-
lot of times they're not here when we do our budget.
Did it say on that how much they wanted, or just looking for money?
I didn't see a
Didn't say.
dollar amount.
Didn't say.
I think we'll send them a note that we need to get an idea of what they're looking for. And we'll put it on through our budget process. Okay, the next, we don't need a motion for that, do we? No. Okay, the next is the Potter property. We saw that we had the recommendation from our tax officer, Pat. Would someone like to, if you agree, would you move this?
So moved.
Second,
Specifically, it
Which
is
one?
two properties
Eroded.
2 and 2.
that have really no longer exist. I think
They're
you
rock.
say that in the report.
So they're right along the shoreline, they just been washed out, washed out.
Yeah.
It's just
I can't imagine it was ever, I don't remember it being
a field.
a property, no, there was never anything there but
I don't
rocks
remember there
in the
being
water. I don't know
anything
who
more
it-
there than there is now, but I suppose over time.
Under assessment, it did have an assessment account number, so it was
Wow.
attractive taxes.
I see there's a post office box. Is that not a post office box? Got a picture?
Yeah, that's around 4 Point Road, right almost
Yeah, yeah.
across from the church there's now a post office.
So we actually need a motion that would specifically say that we would write off the,
As per the recommendation.
the $487.55.
So moved. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're just clarifying that.
The exact numbers,
And which has just been said.
09270507 and 09270523.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is CUP, request for support to Save Canada Post.
All right, well, I was just reading the
Was there, I thought it was just one.
What's the other amount?
Do we have a second motion for the other property for 460?
Okay, 46504.
6504.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is the CUP. That's the request for support to Save Canada Post. As you saw, they're asking for support. What's the feeling of Jimmy?
I looked at the motion that they, or the resolution that they put forward with the whereas and everything. And I really see this as something that should be forwarded to the FCM. It's a federal entity, and we're a part of the FCM, but this is something that, if it's going to have any weight at all, it should be coming from the FCM body for the support of Canada, the elimination of jobs at Canada Post. But
Wasn't this part of the resolution session at the FCM conference last year?
yeah, it was actually
Voted down.
down at the it got voted down at the last FCM. So now they're going back and now they're trying to get each individual municipality to support them. But we've all had issues with the way Canada Post has been changing the way they provide services in Nova Scotia for the last number of years.
Cutting and cutting, and soon won't have any.
I agree 100%.
also would advocate it from the FCM. I can't see it hurting one way or the other, and at least we do throw our little straw in the camel's back. Would that be acceptable to people? I could make that a motion.
I'd say so.
Okay. That we, on the local level, make a resolution in support.
Not a resolution,
Or, motion?
a letter of support.
A letter of support.
Whatever you want to do.
Why don't I give it extra weight and call it a motion?
Okay.
All right, a motion for the local level and also advocate for this within the confines of the FDL.
Okay, how do people feel? Seconder?
Second.
Okay, how do people feel? Not hearing
I
any?
talked to the lady at the Barton Post Office because we got that letter, you did, and I did. And she says they're talking 3.5 hours. More taken off the time that they're going to be open. Plus, they're not open on Saturdays. But down the road at Clinton Post Office, they had no cuts. They're still open on Saturdays, and they're not getting any cuts. They didn't quite understandable why.
Because they're going down the line, they just must go.
Yeah, they just haven't gotten there
They've
yet.
done
Yeah.
the two on the neck. They just haven't got there yet.
They
They're
will.
coming.
Well,
And then they came.
This is something that there's anxiety about locally, not just as far as elderly people, but also there's services offered by post offices that are extremely valuable for business. And in a place like ours where population dropping, and plus us really pushing for economic development, post office is an important piece of that. And I would like to see both locally, so I can say that, yeah, we've done something locally and we're going to push for it in the big picture. That'd be something I would like to tell my constituents.
Jimmy?
I was going to say that when this was brought up at the FCM, the reason why it got voted down was this was not the resolution. The resolution was because of the elimination of door-to-door service. And rural Canada said, we don't get door-to-door service now. And, you know, that's where I think the divide was out at the FCM. I support this going to the FCM. As you know, I'd support a motion for us to send something off to the FCM. I'd rather do that personally rather than just send a letter from the municipality of Digby to Canada Post, because I think it has a lot more clout if we can get the FCM on board. But the other thing I'd like to add is what we should be doing as a council is sending a letter to our directors that serve on the FCM board and asking them to support pushing this forward.
I don't think that sending a letter to the smaller piece would preclude us doing what you suggested. I think we could do both simultaneously.
Okay, now, from your motion, what you want us to do is to do a motion that says that we support this, which
On the local level.
on the local level. And then we also send a letter to the FCM asking the directors to look at this and to try to support it because we really think it's important because the hours are being cut and what's happening right nationally. Am I understanding this?
I'm right. That's right with me.
Okay, so when you talk about the local level and we do the motion, who do you want that motion to go to?
Okay, well, what was the correct
I'll
address?
send it back to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're asking that the motion go to the Minister of Transport.
Oh, well, then send
there
it
you
in
go.
for transport, a copy to CUP, and a copy to our MP.
Yeah. And then a letter, of course, to the FCM, Board of Directors. You should vote on it.
Okay.
One of the things is they're asking that it go to the President of the FCM.
Okay.
Yeah, we will still do both. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next is the Chief Administrative Officer's report. Request for decision, Boar's Head, Bear River Trim, Point Trim, Lighthouses and Property, and the Department of Fisheries and Oceans grant of $75,000.
Up the document
further discussion? There is a memorandum there if anyone has any questions and want any detail. Everyone's quite familiar with the process.
Oh, yeah.
We can go into for it.
Just to show, throw in an aside, I will be giving you an update on the 3 lighthouses, Grand Passes, Western Light, and Peters Island. Down the islands, the group didn't really get a lot done, but I'm hopeful for leadership stepping forward in the next little while. So you'll be hearing more about these, I'm sure, lighthouses.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next, request for decision, agreement between Scotia Recycling and Town of Digby, Municipality of Digby, and Municipality of Clare. Jimmy? Second. Any discussion? Yes.
This isn't the same agreement that the units in Yarmouth County had, is it?
No.
Because this is the same as the old agreement that we had previous to going to Clare. And it's one that we had a lot of trouble with. And when I read this over on the weekend, I can tell you that I'm not very happy with it. And I'm not, and I don't really think it's a wise direction to go in. I know our hands are pretty much tied to a large degree, but this is like holding it as a ransom.
We had a number of discussions with Dwight at Swift Recycling, and because our recyclable products are going to Kensal instead of Yarmouth, he felt that this wasn't going to be an issue like it was in Yarmouth, but he was not willing to take that clause out. He said it's the clause that he had with everyone, the other units that bring it to Kensal. And even though we pointed out that definitely it's not something that's in Yarmouth.
So why is it that he set on keeping it in there if he allowed the units in Yarmouth not to have that clause?
What clause number are you speaking of?
It's a clause saying that if there's more than 10% contaminated, we're responsible for the total cost of that. And we had those issues having waste that managed the recyclable stores, and this company came back 2 consecutive years and charged us well over and above what we were paying, saying that we had a lot of contamination. And we'd asked for monthly reports so we could keep a handle on it. We never saw one. So, and that's another, are they going to allow us to have that reporting system?
Well, I think in this case, because it's municipal units, they're dealing directly with Scotia Recycling, that we are going to be following it very closely. And if there is an indication that there's starting to be problems, we want to deal with them straight up instead of waiting 6 months down the road and getting a bill.
That should be put in writing.
Well, there is, I think, something here about report.
Payment for contamination thresholds. I don't see anything about operational meeting. No.
Part of the operational meeting. Yes. So I don't.
Sending our garbage to Queens, and I know years and years ago there was discussions on talking to them about recyclables. That's before we even got involved with Scotia. This is going way back. But I wouldn't have a problem entering into an agreement with Scotia if we had the same agreement that we had that Yarmouth County has been able to get. And I guess the thing is why is it then he doesn't want our recyclables to go to Yarmouth then?
Well, because they are at capacity there.
Okay.
I think a lot of the issue before with Yarmouth, and they may not admit to that or say to that, but it's just that they didn't have the capacity there to properly handle all the municipalities that were going at it at the time.
Right.
Now, what their facilities like in Kensal, I don't know if it's bigger, but
If we put in our own handling facility and we direct ship from here to Kentville, will that allow us to ensure maybe a better product going to Kentville so that we can maybe take out the risks of contamination?
Well, I think that, with the fact that I believe now we do have a skipping program for the blue bags, which they are, which we didn't have in place before. And I think with handling it locally, in terms of, like you say, loading, there will be less. And it's not so much the glass is the issue, it's the breaking, the glass that is broken, although glass is a recycled material. So while we, and through Pam, who's that, Claire, who was handling that, we did, really stress that, why is this in there? And from their point of view, it wasn't something that they've ever had to bring into play with the other units. But why? Because initially when we were going to enter into the contract, and I wasn't part of those discussions, that they had indicated that we would have the same contract as Yarmouth. But since it's going to Kentville, I don't know if that's what made the difference. But
Do you have any way of knowing what the contamination rate is for the units that are going into Kentville now? Like what does Kings have for contamination, or what would?
I can find that out.
Yeah,
I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Right.
If they've ever had to have.
I guess that's something that I'd feel more comfortable with, knowing if the other units in the valley going into Kentville were being treated fairly, and they weren't being dinged with a high contamination rate like we were in the past. And because I know when we first started going to Clare, our numbers dropped from like 13 to 14% down to 6% because it was being handled more properly. So, and if we can stay under the 10% threshold, we're okay. So, but I'm just a little leery and gun shy about this because of our past experience with this company.
David?
Is this a take it or leave it? Is there any negotiation in regards to an express term? Maybe we can just include an express term in regards to reporting RE contamination.
We don't have choices when it comes to who can handle it because there's nobody else out there.
What about in regards to them reporting so we don't get surprised? That's something that you could include as an express term, and then they have to follow it. And it's not a big request. It would cover us as far as a large amount being due all at once that we didn't know, so we couldn't quickly respond, remedy whatever the situation is, an express term. Just ask them to include that. Like, yeah, okay, 10%, but we got to know the instant that there's a problem. Yeah, what about asking that? Would council
I think we can all a clause to that effect that there be monthly reporting that goes to the 3 municipal units with regard to, possible contamination.
Like, I'm looking over it, and I don't see an express term. Something that's straight.
I don't know what you mean by
a term that is necessary for the performance of the contract. So when we go into the contract, we give you this, but we also want that in return. So this is part of the contract in regards to. It's something we consider extremely important.
There's certainly obligations on part of First Recycling. It's their facility, so it's their contract that we sign. But in terms of their responsibilities or obligations, I think you can add a clause that there would be monthly reporting. That would be one of their obligations.
It's nothing that would be inferred from other things. It's something that's black and white, obvious.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting, is that under their obligations, a new clause be added that would state that they would have to provide us, reports every month, regarding, where we are with possible contamination.
Is there an acceptable level of contamination?
10%. 10% or less.
As long as it's not over 20%.
If it's like 2%, like say there was 2 tons that had to go, and I don't know if that's overall in an annual load, like on an annual basis, or 6 months, but that's when it would kick in, and they would charge us a fee to have it disposed of. So it's on us to make sure that our enforcement with Waste Check is, and our education programs are being followed. And the cost has always been high. I guess that's a nice way to put it. Right? Because they have to send it back. There is, cost. I think it would be $100 a ton would be what they would charge a ton. And we don't want, we don't want, you want your recyclables taken up and
in the best,
The other
shape
part,
possible.
the other part of it is the actual pricing is the same as what Yarmouth has. So they did give us that. I mean, they've been in the contract for about 3 years.
See, they went into a contract hire based on the fact it was all-inclusive, and prior to the contract that we had with Ocean before. So basically, we're going to be going into the contract paying the premium price that Yarmouth is paying, but not have monthly, inclusive. That's the only concern. And if anything, the value or being treated fair and not being dinged, then I don't have an issue with it, but I'm just, like I said, from our past experiences with some of the way the garbage and the recyclables is handled, it makes me a little leery. If we can have monthly accounting, telling us what our rates are, and we can keep a handle on it, then it's probably going to be okay. But I'd like to see that clause put in there that we can get that monthly reporting.
And that's his direction, not motion.
We still have a motion on the floor.
Is this something that has to be done tonight, by, like, are we on a rush?
Well,
Because we have no one
we've
to do it?
been delivering to Scotia Recycling and, the end of August. So, given the fact that we won't be meeting as a council for another month.
Exactly.
Okay. So, the motion that's on the floor was,
I don't think it
Accept
was
the
a motion.
contract pending notification rate.
is there a seconder? Okay. Any further discussion? So we definitely want that in there before it's signed.
In writing.
Yeah. And I do agree that we are paying a high price because that was supposed to include all that. So, we're not giving us a deal. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Next is approval of the July payables of $977,604.76.
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Next, for the August payables of $509,779.26.
So moved.
Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Correspondence was the Chronicle Herald, High Speed over Freeport, Fundy Title Inc. News Release, Right to Know Week, Nova Scotia Department of Municipal Affairs Building Bylaws, Nova Scotia Environment Update on New Activities, Destination Regulations. Any questions or concerns on any of those? Next. Okay, we will go to the standing committees of council recommendations. First one, bylaw and policy recommendation, council resolution reconfit application.
So you make a motion that the municipality of the district be considering entering, is that the one we're talking about right now?
I'll make a motion that the municipality of District of Digby may consider entering into a formal contract with Endurance Wind Power for the supply and installation of up to 5 small-scale 50 kilowatt-hour or less wind turbines based on the success of the community feed-in tariff application, and if the community shows a willingness during consultations, and if council feels it is appropriate at the time.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just part of what we've asked Endurance to submit an application under the COMPET. And part of the application process includes a motion of council. So this motion isn't something that really ties us. Council still has the option, if not, going forward with the project.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Next is committee of the whole recommendations, motion non-disclosure agreement.
I so move that the warden and CAO of the municipality of the District of Digby sign the mutual confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement between Fundy Title Incorporated, the municipality of Digby, the town of Digby, the municipality of Clare, and Mike Gashu and Associates.
Is there a seconder? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion carried. Linda?
There was another recommendation that came from the committee of the whole with regard to the tender for the new public works vehicle.
Oh, that's
That
right.
wasn't included on the agenda, so.
It was to Bellevue
Bellevue
Motors.
Motors.
Accept the tender, the lowest tender for a new public works truck, and tender is awarded to Bellevue Motors.
Is there a second? I got three of you.
Mexican in there on it.
All in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion carried. That's what I like to see. Next is the advisory committee's reports and updates. Digby Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, Councilor Adams.
We have a meeting this week.
Heritage Advisory Committee, Councilor Adams and Tudor.
We haven't had a meeting. We're still looking for one committee member to the rep. Rob, one of our committee members, Al
I've been looking.
Hudson, they're going to the Provincial Heritage Conference, which I believe is
24th, 26th.
I guess that would be this week.
Our next meeting's on the 8th.
Yeah, I saw an email that Ross sent us.
Oh, yes, there was, yeah. I talked to him today, yeah, October 8th.
I don't know about you, but I've been trying to pound the bushes, trying to talk people into taking up that position. But it's hard.
There is a chance that we will be hosting the Provincial Heritage Conference next year.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be discussion at the conference with the committee and stuff.
The next is the Planning Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams, and Tudor. There has been no meetings.
I've been trying to coordinate a date for a PAC meeting with Chris. Right
Okay.
now, it's going to be well into October.
I'm waiting, chomping at the bit on that one. See, love it. I got plans this year.
We're going to do our next section. Joint RCMP Advisory Board, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams. You have the RCMP Digby Detachment Report and the June minutes. Is there anything to add, Councilor Adams?
I thought it was interesting with the stats about bus drivers.
But is victims of crime?
Yeah. I was thinking it might be something.
Halifax, I don't know. RCMP.
Okay.
I was thinking it was something we could put on a flyer at the bottom, just to remind people about the buses and the fact they now have cameras. And we might want to be thinking twice about doing some of these stuff.
Cameras in the back or in the front or both?
On the back of the bus, isn't it?
School buses, is that what she said?
Yeah,
I don't know.
so they can get license.
Some
It
of
might
them
be on
have-
the front and back, isn't it?
Some of them have done all of them.
Have done what?
There was only some had cameras.
I thought Tri-County was putting them on. Anyway, is it on all? Yeah, it's what I thought.
You always do with the local guy, is he'll actually yell at you at the local store if you do anything. He will, he'll yell at you in front of everybody. You try to be embarrassing. Very embarrassing.
I would hope so.
Never happened to me.
I'm sure. Next is, is there something to add to where Rob has asked for any comments for the upcoming? Send that excellent idea.
Oh, put it in my district then?
No, don't
No.
put it in your district, but send it to him.
Yeah,
I'd
I
like to
think,
see
yeah.
that.
Did you mention it to me? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I mentioned it earlier. Oh, we did? Okay, good.
So we know who to deal with. Next is the joint RCMP is the REMO Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine. We just had a meeting. Deputy Warden McAlpine, what would you like to say?
We had a meeting and we reviewed the Warpath Rally, and Don LeBlanc, our REMO coordinator, he gave a report on his aspect of of how everything went. He said everything went well. He was busy, but not serious busy. I mean, just a lot of little things, but he said it, on his point of view, everything went well. And Corporal, I'm trying to remember his name now. Yeah, Sean Bolger. He was there also, and he said from an RCMP perspective, it went very, very smooth. he said the organization of Wharf Rat Rally was, they did a great job, and there was no issues. So from that point of view, it was a success from the RCMP and from our safety officer. So that report was given at the last REMO meeting, and we also talked. Our coordinator also talked to us about the aftermath of the storm Arthur, and because he had a meeting in Halifax with provincial representatives as well. And one thing that we did discuss, which we had done years ago, was fuel. The supply fuel for either running generators or for your vehicles or whatever. And so I think I asked him to write us a report in regards to storm and where we can go forward from there and take his recommendations from his report and we'll work on those. But it's like I stated at the meeting, it's all well and good to say, okay, why don't you get a private company to put in a UPS supply for their energy so that they can continue to pump fuel, but those systems are very expensive. And you might have a need to use it once every 1 or 2 years. So, we talked about that, and we also talked about maybe there could possibly be programs out there to help subsidize a company for putting the upgrades in to make a fuel supply secure. And so, anyways, there was discussion on that at the last meeting.
Thank you. Western Regional Housing Authority is Richard Fitzgerald, and that's not due yet. The next is the Regional Joint Committees, reports update, Age-Friendly Community Planning Committee, Councillor Adams.
I don't have anything new to say, but no, the working group is meeting tomorrow just to look at the draft, and then from there we're going to bring the bigger group together. So hopefully by the end of October this will be done.
Okay. Next is the Airport Working Group, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councillor Adams.
The airport working group hasn't had a meeting, but I just want to say that once again this year, the airport was used as part of the Wharf Rat Rally activities, and from what we were told, everything went well. There was more people that went out there this year than what there was the year before, and there were no issues. And the other thing I'd like to add is that I believe right soon the paving and patching that's going to take place on the runway is supposed to be done September, October. I take it probably be October now.
At the end, turning, yeah. Okay, the next is the Bay of Fundy Marine Transportation Association, Warden Gregory. We have met with the MLA, Gordon Wilson. We've also had a couple of meetings, and what we've been doing is, of course, sending letters on to transport, doing that kind of discussion. We are really awaiting where the ship is, unofficially. The rumor is from Norwegian. Officially, nobody knows anything, so you know. So that is the official uptake, and that's what we've been told. Officially, we know nothing. So I've seen pictures of the nothing. It's really interesting.
It's a figment of your imagination.
Right. Pardon me? Yeah. Norwegian, yeah. Yeah, there was. But that's, again, nothing's
in writing.
nothing. It just gossip rumor.
Gossip or rumor?
No, sometime in 2015. That's the only thing we know.
Picture's nice now, pretty bright.
Very nice looking.
Bright and new.
Well, it's not new, but
Fairly
it's fairly new. Yes, it is. But again, until we have to say, honestly, nobody knows for sure where it's coming from. You just have speculation, way it goes. But there is an annual general meeting, and Councillor Adams is attending in my stead, because I just can't attend. Next is the Digby and Area Affordable and Supportive Housing Group. Councillor Tudor has not been getting emails. Do you guys get emails? Because I don't have any
Yeah, I haven't gotten emails lately. I'm pretty sure because of the way they were meeting all the time. So yeah, I have to get a hold. I gotta get a hold of her. Because today I was going through it, but I haven't gotten an email.
I'll try, I thought I was looking for it here and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, you were saying you're gonna send me.
Yeah, but I think I put it in my delete and I did a delete. I do that every so often because it gets too full.
I never really go after it. It saves me something in the future, I hope.
Oh, God, no.
Or committee.
Okay. So we do know that they met in September. I believe they're meeting sometime in October. We'll just,
I saw her on the side of the street in Westport actually going whale watching, and I went to try to stop, and I decided not to yell at her about emails while she was on holiday. So
you know,
I'll
yeah,
call her on
but
official business. I
be
almost did.
nice.
Like, hey, excuse me. I wasn't going to be mean, angry.
Okay, good. August minutes were supplied. Digby Area Learning Association, Councilor Manzer. We have the May minutes.
It hasn't been anything going summer. Wednesday, we have our meeting Wednesday.
Okay. Do you meet over there?
At the Dalla building.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
You skipped.
Oh, I don't know how I would have managed that, but I did. Sorry, Digby and Apples Development Corporation, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councilor Tudor, that's the August minute. Duh.
And we accepted a proposal for the acquisition of the property on Atlantic Avenue. November. So hopefully everything goes well.
And then there'll be no properties left,
That's right.
so then we will dissolve.
Well, we'll see. I think there's. I don't know that you want to do that yet. But
Yeah.
I think there could be opportunities to keep it open. But I mean, as far as the DADC go, it won't have any physical properties that it owns anymore.
Okay? Next is the Digby Area Recreation Commission, Warden Gregory, Councilor Manzer. You have the July minutes and the September report. We had resignation of Hugh Sprout, so that means we need to, did we advertise, Linda?
Not yet, no, I just got it.
Okay, so we will be advertising for a new member on the Recreation Commission.
In regards to advertising, could any of the ads that go into the Digby Courier also go into the passages? I don't think they've been making it through. We've talked about this in the past.
Yeah, you're right, we have it.
If you wouldn't mind, because it's hugely and I'm trying to get people to join some of these committees. I'm not having much luck.
George, is there anything from the meeting on Wednesday?
No, they had their financial thing or whatever. And before we get to the bottom line, actually they had a surplus for the year of somewhere in the range of 20,000, 25. But then they had to deduct their depreciation, which was 115,000. So it shows up on the paper as a deficit of 87,000 on paper only.
We don't really have a deficit.
Not really,
So
no.
there'll be no money coming from the council.
No. They said there was, actually, before that 115 deduction, they had surplus.
Yeah, they don't even spend money, do they? On
We
much.
spend
Do
money.
they? Do they? This data, right?
That's that.
Oh, okay.
It looks bad on, if you're just looking at it, but technically so.
But that's a valid point. Okay. The next was the Digby Development Agency, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Well, at the last meeting, basically, we were discussing the upcoming ICOE conference in Halifax, and it's an international conference in regards to marine energy, and the DDA is taking a contingent to this to hopefully make some good inroads on getting some people interested in Digby and trying to get them to come here and set up. There should be anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 delegates from around the world, and we're going to be part of what's called the Canadian Pavilion, and I think there's 30 groups in the pavilion, and we're also going to be having the opportunity to specifically meet with different individuals to try to sell Digby.
Is
And
it at the Metro Center?
no, it's at the World Trade and Convention Center.
Sorry, the World Trade Center.
Yeah, and it's at the same time as the UNSM Fall Conference, so
Same date, exactly?
exactly.
Oh, except for
I got
Friday.
faith in you guys.
Yeah. So
Can we come to visit?
I don't know if they'll let you in or not, but you can try.
Say, we're with you.
She got money in the
But I want to just say, though, that this is what the DDA's been trying to do for the last 2, 3 years, 4 years, is promotion. And we are the only ones that have actually been doing this in Nova Scotia. Like, Hansport, Paris Pro, you say what you want. They haven't been doing this. And we've been showing the leadership of getting out there. And we've been very aggressive in doing this. And but guess what? Everybody knows who we are right now in the province.
Awesome.
And the Department of Energy, they're right there. They're very supportive. And the minister is very supportive. So I think that's what the benefits are of doing these things. And so I think it's the effort to do it.
Okay. Next is the Digby Area Tourism Association. Councilor Manson.
nothing over the summer. Like May or June was the last, maybe last meeting.
Okay.
They should start up again in the fall, but during summer they're too busy for.
The next is the Digby Harbor Port Association, Warden Gregory. You have the June minutes and July report, July minutes and August report, September minutes and report. I wonder what happened to our August minutes. June,
Did you have a
July.
meeting in August?
Yeah. Huh. It's just, it says June, and it has a September minutes. Oh, then that was our meeting then. You're right, sorry. I was thinking that was in August. It's been a long time. Anyway, what we are doing doing some projects to get finished by March 31st, isn't it, of this coming year. Our project manager was in and discussed what we were doing. And what we're doing, on a piece of the war, there's holes, okay? And we're going to put that fancy cement in. What do you like that?
Whoa, very highly technical.
Fancy cement in these holes. And we're doing it in pieces, and we're
Front
hoping to
page.
get so much done. And it's according to the weather, because anything below 15, like today, they can do whatever. Anything below 15, they can't work.
Very hurried.
Oh, it's I thought they said 15 at the meeting. Oh, below 5.
That's a lot better than 15 this time of year.
Or else it doesn't come out fancy.
Doesn't come out fancy.
And actually, our port days, which we were part of, was very successful. Mr. Chisholm has just had his evaluation. He is now permanent, or will be recommended to the board. He'd be a permanent person.
For employees.
They don't like my words tonight. I drink a lot, apparently. So he is doing a good job. The big thing that people have to remember, Ed is different than our previous manager. And so it's different how it's being brought to the table. You know, and I think, you know, sometimes we all expect everyone to follow the same footprints, and that's not the way it always goes.
Adjusting well, though, overall.
Oh, very good, very well. Like I said, I'm just, you know, making that comment. No, he's doing an excellent job. Our project manager is doing an excellent job. I hear he's going to stay with us for quite a while yet. Mentioning, you know, no names, that's what that is. The next is the Digby Library Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
No meeting. That committee only meets about once a year, just to let you know.
Oh, okay.
It was an impressive little presentation to them.
That's the regional.
For the regional years.
Different. Digby Municipal Fire Association.
Association, Councilor Manzer.
They had a scheduled meeting for the first Wednesday of the month, so I showed up and there was nobody there.
That happened to me.
So I think they had canceled it at the last minute or something for some reason. Somebody couldn't make it, so they held it next week, which I wasn't in Halifax.
Okay.
I will keep in contact with Roy from now on.
Make sure you know. Yeah, you don't want to come for
Roy
nothing.
will keep me informed.
In regards to
When
that,
and where the meetings are.
in regards to the fire association, I've taken your advice and passed it on to the Tiverton Fire Department to ask them where maybe there's some pool that I wasn't aware of. So I did do that.
That's fair.
And I also told them the other things I said. They're really happy about item number 1. Okay.
Oh, well.
Real happy.
The next is Highway 101 Task Force, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams. We are actually going to have a meeting tomorrow. So we can't really comment because we haven't met. But I will tell you, I am hearing, you keep hearing from staff that it is on the agenda, and that's a good thing. It's on the agenda and it's being pushed in a slow formation, which means a lot to me.
But they have signed the Bill Canada Fund illustration.
Yes.
Now they're just deciding how to.
Now we have to
divvy it
find
up.
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next is the King Transit Authority, Warden Gregory. June minutes and July reports. We did not meet in August. We were having a few issues with our bus, and that has just been little things that have been fixed. They are looking at the possibility of a change in, I love it when I lay things out in my head ready. It's a draft I have, and it's only a draft. It's how they're looking at spending some, I think I told you that way back, on how we were going to spend some possibly money. That was a draft, and since we have no minutes since, there's nothing new to report.
I read the minutes, and it stated that they're getting from the province just under $400,000 a year. Those monies,
That was just for this year.
I know, but it looked like it was going to be on an annual basis.
No. You will get to apply on an annual basis, but it doesn't mean where you'll get or what you'll get.
Okay, the question I had is that money going to be shared within the whole King's Transit system fairly?
That's what they want to do, yes.
Okay, so you'll know later how they do that?
I will hopefully know this month when we meet.
Okay.
Like,
All right.
I don't have a vote, but I do have an opinion.
Mhm.
And they've been actually very good. There's possibly a new chair coming in this month, too.
All right.
That's why I had it out, actually, looked at it last night again. Senior Safety Committee, Councilor Tudor, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
I'm just wondering where you get the July minutes from, since the July meeting was canceled.
So July report.
Oh, reports.
There's nothing there. Just the Senior Safety Committee.
Doesn't say July, anything.
This is senior safety.
Oh, shared services, sorry.
Next, we're on Senior Safety
There's
Committee.
been no meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, it was canceled. I wrote today. Give the next one, that's all I got.
The next is the Shared Services Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councilors Adams and Tudor. There's the February minutes and July minutes.
And I guess for Councillor Mander's benefit, the Shared Services Committee met today, and we had representatives from the Department of Justice in to talk to us about policing. And the District of Clare, the town of Digby, and ourselves were all there. And they took our questions, and they're supposed to report back to us. But, we want to know more about trying to come up with efficiencies on policing services for the region.
That was a very informative meeting that cleared up a lot of things, possibly. Cleared up a lot of things. We'll see how it is when they come back. So second judge it, but I do think maybe a political solution.
I actually asked to be invited to the meeting, and which I was, and then they invited Ronnie, the warden from the municipality of Clare. So, and he brought a counselor with him. So it was very, I wanted to go as the warden here and listen.
Interesting.
There is concern.
I enjoyed your input, actually.
Can I add? I'd like to add too that the warden from Clare was invited, like he, at Port Days, and they must have got talking about policing because Clare's got issues. So the mayor mentioned it to me, and then I said sure, and then the warden from Clare had sent me an email, asked if he could bring another counselor, somebody that's on their police advisory committee, and that's why they were here today. But I thought it was great that we were there, the three units, to talk to them.
The next is Transport Declare, Councilor Manzer.
It hasn't been anything for the last couple of months, but I expect something shortly, probably October.
The next is View Terrace, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councilor Manzer, appointment of citizen rep.
George, do it.
So he hasn't been appointed yet?
No, we got to do that now.
Okay, because he's already been to the retreat last weekend. I'll move that we appoint Alnor, I'm not sure his last name. Kazan? To the View Terrace Board.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. And when do we do a second citizen one? No, we're cutting the board down.
This cuts us down now. I'm off now.
Yeah, that makes two. Mason Van Tassel.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about poor
There's
Mason.
two citizens now.
Pat, would you make sure at the next one it just shows Council Manzer for the View Terrace?
Appointment.
For the appointment? He's gone. 1319 Upper Clemens Park Society, Councilor Adams. Board members list, July executive minutes, August Board of Director minutes.
We had a meeting this past Thursday as well. There was an update on how the summer went. Things were better than last year because we had 15 rain days that kind of did them in. They had some things that broke down and they had to wait for parts. One part came from England and it was a little weird thing, like it was this big, but he shut the whole ride down. And so we had to had to wait for that. And they had more people going to the adventure park. And that's still open until Thanksgiving.
Anybody have any questions? I just want to make a comment that I am told the new manager is very approachable. I'm hearing good things about him. I have personally met him.
Got a lot of good ideas.
Right.
He's got great ideas and he's
Yeah.
looking at efficiency, like saving in this department, saving there, which is good because they need to do that. He's supposed to be talking to me about coming to do a presentation.
We were speaking.
He said he just wanted to introduce himself and that.
so
And I said, well, call her again because I know you want to do a presentation. And we were waiting until things quieted down before.
Yeah, he told me he wanted to do a presentation.
He's got great ideas and
Yeah, I'm really impressed with him. The next is 1320 Waste Check, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
At the last waste check meeting, it was held on September the 8th. We had our annual general meeting, followed by a regular board meeting. We had election of the executive, and Councilor Leland Anthony from the District of Yarmouth was reappointed as the chair, and I was reappointed as the vice chair. And then we had other committee appointments to the other various committees on the board. And we went into our board meeting. Just a few highlights. For the business of the month for August, Bayview Animal Hospital was awarded the business of the month. Good to see a business from up this way. And on September the 19th, the Waste Tech hosted a hauler information session in Yarmouth. I haven't had a chance to talk to our hauler since he went down to that, but he stopped in to see me on his way. He said he was going down to it, so it was good. Waste Reduction Week is coming up from October the 19th to the 25th, and plans are underway for Waste Reduction Week in Region 7. RFB is sponsoring shredding events across the province. Unfortunately, well, I'm glad to see it, but it's not going to take place up here, but down in Yarmouth at the Enviro Depot, they're going to have a paper chase bottling exchange. They're going to have a shredder in there for that. But it would have been nice to see that or two parts of the region, I should say. What else? There is a Atlantic Canada Waste Diversion Conference that's coming up in October. It's going to be in Halifax. And Mobius Awards. The nomination period for the 16th Annual Mobius Awards is now open, and the deadline for submissions was September the 15th, last Monday. So they've taken out the Region of the Year out of the Mobius Awards. So
They got tired of giving it to
got
us.
tired of giving it to us. We won it the last 3 years in a row. But
And we'd have won it again.
yeah, probably. Well, we've been leaders with diversion rates in Nova Scotia, but I don't have really much more to add to that, other than there was one thing that they were talking about having us all have the same bylaw.
Yes.
Before we did this discussion on that, I think you had to leave before that too. I had looked at that, but I never had a chance to speak on it there. But I think we need to look at it more in depth before we decide if that's what we want to sign for our own municipality. So,
Yeah, I actually think it's a good bylaw.
yeah, and I'm not saying it's not, but I'd like to have a discussion on it.
Same
Maybe we can add that to one of our bylaw and policy meetings so we can have discussion on that
Same bylaw for
solid waste.
The next is Western County's Regional Library, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Well, last week, as you all heard, the Executive Director, Erin, today, she spoke on the library services, and last week let me back up. At one of the LBANs, the Library Board Association Nova Scotia board meetings I have attended, there was a gentleman from Cumberland County telling us that during his reporting to the rest of the board that they took the van and just took all the board of directors around and they just did a tour of all the different library branches. So I brought that idea back to Yarmouth and said, well, instead of doing a tour, we'll do a tour, but we'll tie it to a board meeting so it cuts down on costs. And so last week we went to Lockport, Clark's Harbour, Shelburne, and we went to Barrington and had a board meeting there. And then on the way back, we stopped in Pubnico and toured that facility as well. So I was really impressed. I'd never been to any of them before, but the library that really impressed me the most, and if you ever have a chance to look at it, you want to go into it, is the one in Shelburne. They got a beautiful library. In the center, almost like a white house, really cool. And it's a really nice building, and it's got different rooms off to the sides. So they're all nice, unique buildings, and they fit the community's needs very well. The one in Lockport and the one in Clark's Harbour are smaller, but for the size of the community, they fit well. And when we got to Lockport, I know the mayor, Darian Huskelson, so we stopped at his father's garage to look him up, and he wasn't there. He just left, so I called him, and he met us at the library. It was kind of nice. So he dropped over for a few minutes, but at the library board meeting, what else did we talk about? Oh, I brought this up to look at putting automated external defibrillators in the library branches, and staff are still doing some research on that, but that's something.
Contact St. John Ambulance.
Pardon me?
They should be contacting St. John Ambulance.
Yeah, I'll let her know that.
That's one of that's where ours came from here.
Is it? Okay. Well, this is another thing that I brought back from LBAN meetings, so I had it put on the agenda, and we had staff look at it. They looked at the cost and stuff.
You're talking about $2,000 each
Yeah,
with taxes.
yeah. So they're looking at that, and we have 10 branches. So we're thinking if we do anything, if nothing else, we want to get it in some of the branches that have farthest access from EHS services, and then do an infill and try to fill the rest of the branches in. But
Weymouth would be one.
yeah, well, there's Westport, not Weymouth. It's got a EHS just up the road.
No, that's in Clare.
I know, but it's what, 2 miles away? Doesn't it service Weymouth? I don't know the way.
It services, but it's not that close.
Not far.
No, it's not that far.
Yeah, it's in St. Bernard, isn't it?
Yeah.
3 4 kilometers.
Yeah,
It's only three,
Suffolk,
yeah, it's only 3 or 4
Like
kilometers
Western.
away. But they're looking at maybe Lockport, Clarks Harbor, and Westport. Those are the 3 that were mentioned first, and then go from there. So we have an adverse weather conditions policy, and we were just updating the wording in that document. And we were looking at an investment policy review committee to be struck. We don't have a lot of investments, but they just wanted to have a review of how they handle the GICs or whatever. And we're also looking at doing an email voting policy. So that's all I have to update on that
Okay,
board
thank you.
meeting.
The next is the Western Regional Enterprise Network, WREN, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Have a meeting next Monday. So they're next Monday.
No, I want my own. Oh, I want that. Okay. Anything else that you want to say? At what point will we not be part of the WREN? Not that we're not part of the WREN, but we're not part of the WREN. That we won't be attending meetings.
There is a board.
Okay.
This meeting I'm going to is sort of an oversight committee. It's the committee that's got the ball rolling and set it up. This committee will meet maybe once or twice a year.
Oh, okay.
And it won't meet with the board. It will meet with representatives from the province. And we're sort of like an oversight committee. Basically, we make our finances and province to the branch. So after my meeting, I can report back and then tell you more to the direction
Okay.
of what the oversight committee will be doing.
Okay. Fair enough. The next is the Weymouth Doctor Recruiting Committee, Warden Gregory, Councilor Manzer. We just had a meeting last week. What we are going to be doing, Claire is going to be inviting part of the committee down to their Christmas get-together to meet the students that are at Sherbrooke. We also have decided that we are going to make up a care bag or, bag, but it won't be until February. We're looking around that Valentine's Day, thing. Claire gives them something at Christmas. We don't want to do that. And what will happen, because we're not allowed to have their addresses and that it will go through Claire. They'll send it out for us, and we'll pay for the mailing, but we're looking at different things that you think someone would enjoy opening up and using there. We don't want something useless, but, using. Otherwise, I think everything went well.
Slow moving, but it's moving.
It's moving. Claire is full. Oh, we will be.
Or they will be.
August next year, yeah. Well, if Dr. Mott comes in, they're full right now. And if he doesn't, they'll be full in August. So that
He
leaves us
doesn't,
room.
he doesn't plan to stay, right?
No, only till the other guy comes.
So
That's what I said,
if he comes in, it's
technically.
full, and then the other person comes in August, they're still only
Still
going to be
full,
full.
yeah. So then, that leaves us opening for the 2, or possibly even 3, because as you know, our doctor in Weymouth is getting older, and he wants to cut back. I don't mean he necessarily necessarily wants to retire, but he definitely wants to come back. I was thinking the other day, he's not that old, but he's getting up there.
It has to be, yeah.
I know, I forgot. I remember when he came with their kids.
I know the kids are little.
Yeah, now they've grown up. The next is council reports. We will start with Councilor Tudor.
Been up to a lot, mostly trying to set up meetings with everything from the liver to the Tour Society, the beautification project. That went ahead over the summer, though it's hard to get a good crowd. I don't think we only had a couple dozen for that. I had some leads on a possible nurse practitioner. I've been following up, passing on information. The Tiverton Fire Department stuff, I'm been talking with them and trying to figure out what's going on. Education options for folks who've been injured over the summer that they're concerned about. Lobstering. Wood's back up and running, my wood bank. Getting calls about that already. I have a feeling that I'm going to have a lot of demand early because a lot of people have not gotten any wood at all. So, yeah, definitely. I still haven't got mine that I ordered 3 months ago. But I do have a couple of cords that I've cut with a friend from hardwood, so at least I think I can cover for the next little while. I don't know what's going on with that wood. Yeah, just lots and lots of calls from individuals, mostly individuals. I spent the first half of September trying to get Joe and Bob and Wendy or whatever situated with various concerns that affected just them, and then the last week or two I've been trying to set up community efforts for things, for example, like Tour Society, or coming up with a solution for various things at the Westport, Freeport, Tiverton, and whatever. So there's things in all the back burners. I'm just trying to organize the groups right now, and it's all coming along nicely. Everybody's been very helpful. It's going quite well. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Councilor Manzer.
Drink my tea.
Let's see, back in August, we attended the Belmont Motors Golf Tournament as part of the municipal team. And we came to a seed meeting one morning, 11 o'clock, which had been canceled till later that day or the next or whatever. 2 open spaces meetings with Jeff and Bob Powell and the team from Halifax. Attended Port Days on Friday. Tideview Terrace Board Retreat was last weekend, Friday night and Saturday. And then the Tideview Terrace Staff Awards today, this afternoon. So pretty well. Plus your other meetings.
Of course. Councilor Adam.
I forgot my book, but I went to the opening of the Digby County exhibition with the warden and Deputy Warden. I went 4 days as well, which I thought was great. August is kind of for a few weeks.
Okay, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Well, I attended the 4 days, which I thought was great. I think the Board of Trade needs to be commended for the work that they're doing on finding all those issues. And for the level of speakers that they're bringing in, and especially really impressed with the gentleman from Open Hydro.
I just want to make sure you understand it's a 3-part committee.
I know.
The Municipality of Digby.
Okay.
It is a Board Association, and it is the Board of Trade. It's not just, it's all 3.
Okay, but I just thought that the Board of Trade was the lead on it. But anyway, I thought the organization of the Port Days was very successful. There was a really good turnout for it, and I think that there's a lot of good to come out of it. It was really good to hear the gentleman from Open Hydro speak on their future plans, and I think their future plans are going to tie well, or they can tie very well with this community. I also attended a meeting with the Jordantown Acaciaville Conway Betterment Society, Minister Casey here, and the warden and I both attended this meeting. The community is looking at trying to get a community center and they had another meeting a little over a week ago, and at that time they're trying to identify, I've worked with a couple of the representatives on the committee to try to identify different parcels of land that could be appropriate for a facility. So the next step is to get information on the 4 parcels of land that we've identified, try to find out if they're for sale and at what price, and they'll go from there. And I also thought it was great to go up to the Bear River, the Digby County exhibition in Bear River. It was well attended this year. They have exhibitions all over the province, and we've got the oldest one right here, and I think we need to recognize that. The people that are doing it every year, they do a great job, and it helps to support the 4-H and the local farmers in the community. So, and that's about all I have to report.
Okay. I was looking at what I've done over the summer. I've attended various meetings and discussions with various residents who have had different concerns. I think one of my favorite things was when we did our bus opening. I got to sit in the driver's seat because there was people who thought I got to really drive it, and I was so happy. They said, "How far did you get?" It wasn't far. Because they wouldn't let me drive it. I've been attending the Board of Trade meeting, which has been keeping us abreast of everything that's going on with the businesses. There is the AGM coming up, and I'm hoping some of the council will be able to attend. Okay. It's in October. I'll have to check it and send a note. Okay? It's advertised. End of September, 1st of October. So that would be nice. The health co-op, since we met, I've not been able to, they had one meeting and they're having another meeting on the 26th, which again, I will not be attending. I just also wanted to say that I get to meet Steve, which was very interesting. I attended the Carsborough Tidal Energy Summit. I also have been working with our youth engagement as a member of that committee. We are definitely going with November 14th and 15th. We're definitely doing 2 days. First day will be with high school. Second day will be with other people. We are going to do it in the morning. Will be the group that we've hired. In the afternoon, we want to have tea and NSCC. We want to speak in the afternoon.
Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at the first day. We're not sure for sure. We're going to look. We're looking. The second day, we know is going to be at NSCC. So I'm really pleased with that. Something that Councillor Adams did not mention, we attended the Fish and Game meeting and what they're doing to try to... Pardon? Oh.
Sorry for interrupting. Just ignore me.
That was in the article, right? Yeah, 2 people signed up.
Oh,
It was like, it must have been
wasn't
you too.
us. Wasn't it? No,
We're not allowed to.
But what we said we would do, we are attending the DU function. We thought we would support that function. I am also not only doing the support, I am going to be a waitress for part of
That's
the function
unlimited.
as well.
That's unlimited.
That's unlimited. Oh, that's, yeah, sorry. But anyway, and then there's a meeting that's coming Sunday that Royce and I will be attending, or at least I will be attending. I think both of us are.
And they have a concert.
And there's a concert coming up, but I'm not sure when that date is.
October.
So they are trying to do what they can. At one point, they had many members, and now the members
membership is low, and we're trying to work with them. You know, as we explained, we could not be members and just sitting there as counselors, listening and seeing what we can come up with as ideas with them. I told them, I said, I would have no problem helping serve dinner, but that's all I can offer. You know, I said specific things I'm willing to help with. So we did that. I attended.
We suggested to them, they have a beautiful campground there on the lake, and we suggested that during Warm Frat Rally, they advertise, because the lady who runs it will come in, open up the center, she's open the bar, we could have jamming sessions, they could have different things, talk about serving breakfast. So they put I saw some ads up on different places, so I don't know if they got anybody or not, but if they could start the word of mouth. I know, it was like the day before, so they didn't have a time to kind of, word of mouth, and then perhaps that will grow next year when, you know, War Frat puts out places
And
to stay.
then, yes, they get it on there.
Yeah.
So
It was a good idea.
It's a part of the learning experience and what's been going on. I again attended Port Days, which was very nice. I agree with everyone that said, so I'm not going to do it. But my favorite thing is just what I just passed attended, and that was Communities in Bloom. I expected it to be all about flowers in town. Boy, was I ever wrong. Universities belong to it. Municipalities belong to it. Regional municipalities belong to it. And it's not just flowers. It can be community gardens, but it can be trails. It can be green energy and what you're doing to promote green energy. I'm waiting for a stick that they're going to be sending stuff. I want to take a stick, and I want some things I want to show you that I will tell you, it was an excellent, excellent conference. They had it very well done. And I was teasing the mayor today. I said, you need to have a mayor garden like they do in, I think it was Killarney. But what they had done, they had community gardens. But then the council decided, let's do a garden in front of the municipality. And they planted, well, they didn't, but the community planted all these herbs and spices. And anyone in the community can go pick them. They have people that help take care of it. But there it is. It's there at the municipality saying, here, we're all part and parcel. I mean, it was things like that we said, and they were talking about trails and youth involvement. And I actually got up. A lady from Pugwash was there. And she was asking about youth, and I said the O2 program, which is a great program to use, and how we use it for the Maud Lewis. Even, you know, there was a lot of, they had interactions. They had people there from England. They had people there from Holland. They had people there from different parts of the world. I mean, it just was not, you know. And Yarmouth was there, and Yarmouth was really talking. And I will tell you, I was very impressed. I'd like to find out some more to bring here, but I think it's something we should be looking at. When I say join, it doesn't mean, I mean to join it so that we can get a lot of ideas and a lot of inspiration to prep, and just stay provincial. I never want to go progressive and go way up high. But it's something that I think is important to look at because we're doing it. We're doing the green energy. We're doing trails development. We're doing civic engagement. We're looking at the youth and how to bring them in. I was talking to some about our youth civic engagement that's coming up. Okay? And I mean, they were thrilled with it. You're kidding. And I said, this is what we're doing. We want the youth input. We don't want to sit here and be old dodgers and think we know it all. So I was, like I said, I was super impressed with the conference. It was in French and English. You know, it was bilingual, and like I said, it was very well done. So,
Did you find anything that would be useful? I'd asked before that question. Did you find anything that might be useful for my first impressions?
probably.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, I will be bringing the stuff to everyone. So, on saying that, is there any questions of the gallery? And then I will give...
There's no in-camera tonight.
Oh,
No in camera?
well then, would someone like to adjourn the meeting?
Sorry, I meant to.
Adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Is there a seconder? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried, and God help us.